When you hear the term meta in wargaming, what does it mean? That's what we want to explore in this Wargaming Tactics vlog, with the understanding of this is a concept that exists. And once you understand it, what we're looking to do is find some sort of scope outside of it, because it dictates for the most part gameplay, and more importantly, or equally as important, how not to be taken surprise when the meta shifts. So we're doing this wargaming thing, whatever system you're playing right now. The rules power the game. Some rule sets are more beer and pretzels, very light. Other rule sets are very dynamic and very, very focused. But essentially, and I realize I'm simplifying things a little bit here, it's what you can do and what you can't do in the game. Now, layered over this are the various armies, factions, warbands, armadas that are going to plug into those rules, which allow the tactics to happen on the tabletop. And for the sake of being dynamic in interest, armies and armadas and warbands should be different. Otherwise, we'll all be playing the same exact thing, and there's not a lot of tactical interest from that perspective. So what you see in a wargaming system, based on the rules, certain elements will work better than others. Certain elements will offer a more direct result than others. Here's a kind of a simplified example. Imagine we're playing a war game where it goes through phases of the game. That first phase is a movement phase. That second phase is a shooting phase or long-range attack phase. And then that third phase is a close combat type phase. You go from 1, 2, 3. Well, if we have to follow 1, 2, 3, and there's no break, it's not dynamic, then the shooting phase of the game is always going to be more powerful than the close combat phase. I have an army, I move up. You have an army, you move up. It's a close combat-based army that I'm playing. Well, on your turn, you get to shoot at me. I don't get to shoot at you because I'm close combat-faced. I take losses. I reduce my losses. That reduces my volume of dice. That reduces the number of attacks I have. That reduces that flow. Then it's the assault phase. I can charge in. So from that little bit of an example, one would say the meta of that game, its imaginary game system, it tends to favor shooting. So what we're going to see is elements in the army, elements in the armada, elements in the different factions that favor shooting are going to play better than the others. Now, layered over this, you have various missions and different systems that you play. And depending on the missions, some armies are going to do better than others. This is called the meta, essentially what really, really works and what works well. So if you want to win games, if you want to play competitively, that meta means you generally want to go in with these armies. What you're going to see is things kind of break into threes. Certain armies and factions are going to embrace the meta and work with the rules and be super powerful. Others are going to kind of have good and bad, powerful and not so powerful, but it'll be a little bit of a struggle. It's not to say you can't win, but it's going to be a struggle. And then there are going to be some armies and some factions based on the meta. No matter how awesome they sound and how great they look, it's just going to be a massive, massive uphill battle. So the meta is going to shape what works best. Now, we also have a local meta. The local meta is your gaming group, your gaming area. It could be a gaming club where you've got 20 or 30 so members. It could be a local tournament scene where, hey, there's 5 hobby shops in the area here that we can drive to within about an hour. That's a meta. The local meta is the players that you regularly interact with, the things they like, their player personalities, the type of missions that they play, and the armies, the warbands, the armadas that they field. That's going to influence your army. An example, years ago, Warhammer 40,000, when I was playing my Space Elves, everyone, I want to say like 95% of the club was playing Space Marines. I mean, Space Marines are awesome. Everyone's playing it. I'm tailoring my army knowing that not only at the club, but also locally at hobby events and tournaments within the 3 stores in the area, the odds are I'm going to be facing Space Marines. There's like 2 dudes playing Space Bugs and like 1 person playing like Tau. There's no other Space Elf players. Everyone's playing Marines. So I looked within my army book and I tailored my army to fight and destroy and kill space marines. It was very, very efficient. It worked very, very well. It left me very vulnerable to almost every other army out there in the 40K meta. But locally, no one played those. No one was playing space robots, right? No one was playing these other type of armies, chaos, spiky marines, the same as regular marines, focusing it. So what you also see is a local meta where, for whatever reason, these are the type of armies you face. These are the missions that you play. These are the scenarios that you enjoy. You tailor your army to that. I say this from a wargaming perspective because you have to take the meta into account, because it is going to make your army easier to play or more difficult to play. Now, layered over this, the meta changes from time to time, both locally and in the game. Do you have a new set of rules that just dropped? Has the game company introduced a new faction? Or even a shift? The gaming club years ago, we were primarily narrative, kind of casual play. People playing different miniatures, different models, different builds. When we started as a club kind of getting into tournament mode, things became a lot more focused, where the armies became a lot more optimized. Just regular pickup games, you were going to probably play against tournament lists as opposed to narrative lists. That is an example of the local meta shifted. Where you get taken surprised as by a player is you're kind of locked into the game and you're like, okay, I understand that I've got my army, it's optimized. Something shifts, you're not aware of it, then you get taken by surprise. The final layer to look out for, exploiting the meta. So many competitive players will tailor their army for what favors things best in that meta, both locally and in the rules. Are they missing something? Is there an exploit? Is there something that you can utilize? Is there something that you can do? Something maybe a little bit obscure that you can layer over for a tactica, something a little bit unexpected that you can use. So when you have those mirror matches where it's like, look, I'm bringing my Space Marines, you're bringing your Space Marines, they've been optimized, they're the best, they're the same units. When that happens, the dice really come into play in the tactics if we're a mirror match. But is there something that is missed? Is there something that can give you a slight advantage? Is there something that you can create unexpected in that moment? So it's also kind of mining the meta for those hidden gems. So as a wargamer, right? Whatever that system is, whatever your army is, the meta exists both as a rule set, but also locally. We want to be aware of it. We want to utilize it. And we want to understand that it could shift. Well, it will shift and it will change. So be open to that dynamic process.